Okay, so in a big surprise drop, Panzer Dragoon Remake finally arrives on the Nintendo Switch, and it's one game I've been waiting some time for now. As a fan of the original, this was released way back in 1995. My big questions though, does it do the original justice? Can it justify its price point? And how does it feel 25 years later? Well, that's what I'm here to find out. Hit subscribe if you love the Switch as much as we do. We're quickly approaching 2,000 subscribers. Let me know in the comments if you'll be picking this one up. And yeah, let's get started. So in the distant future, thousands of years after a war, humans, they're now living across different nations. One nation, the Empire, it's discovered a black tower in the middle of a lake near their capital. This tower, it gives them access to ancient weapons, which while initially they were used for obviously good, it eventually led to them taking over the land and ruling over everyone. So in the opening moments of this game, our hero encounters two dragons who have awakened from ancient times. Battling it out in the sky above him, our hero is watching from the ground, witnessing this battle take place between a blue dragon who has a rider on his back, and then a prototype black dragon. This all culminates when the rider gets shot on the blue dragon, and the black dragon uses this opportunity to flee. With an injured rider, the dragon approaches the ground and meets our hero. The rider, wounded and dying, quickly uses a psychic connection to tell us just one thing: don't let the black dragon reach the black tower, my dragon knows the way. The rider dies, falls to the ground, we inherit his power, his weapon, we climb aboard, and welcome to Panzer Dragoon. Yeah, basically absolute nonsense, quite honestly, and I love it. Back in 1995, the production value here, this epic tale, it was a big deal. The cinematic approach wasn't really like a thing then. With this remake, everything, it's identical. The way the tale is told, the cutscenes, yeah, there's a few new camera angles here and there, and obviously they're a hell of a lot prettier now. But yeah, they went the let's make this absolutely identical route, and I don't blame them. Messing with a well-loved series is often more disliked than liked, and I still enjoyed every moment of this tale. So while it may look like there's a whole lot going on in this one, it's actually pretty simple. It's an on-rail shooter. Yes, you can move the dragon a tiny bit, but the bulk of this one really, it comes down to you controlling the aim of your weapon. Gameplay though, it's simple. You can basically just either mash that shoot button and free aim, or just hold down the shoot button to highlight multiple enemies at a time and get them all at once. I'd look at this as basically like homing missiles. Thankfully then, this is all supported in this new remake with a rock solid frame rate, even if a few of the load times I will say can be a little on the long side. Now naturally, with a game from 1995, it's not easy, and that difficulty, it's going to ramp quickly as it is a relatively short experience. Yes, you're going to start in these big wide open spaces and you'll be thinking, you know, what's the big deal, this is simple. Before you know it though, you're going to be flying down tight corridors. Chapter 4, I'm going to put it out there now, I just absolutely hate you. So when it comes to level design, it basically goes like this: waves of enemies approach and you take them down. You'll have the small enemies and medium ones that can take varying amounts of damage. Also, some will come with weapons that they'll be firing at you in your direction, and you'll need to take these down before they collide with you. Now it starts off slow, but takes very little time to start kicking your ass. On top of this then, you'll be facing bosses at the end of each chapter, whether that's huge ships or android-like things, or of course that end game Black Dragon. Panzer Dragoon never struggled with creativity with its enemy design, and seeing them here again, it's still true to this day. Now when it comes to the controls, you can rotate the camera using the left and right triggers. This will move it 90 degrees at a time, so basically you can look either to your sides or behind you freely and fire in these directions too. Now when looking sideways or behind you though, be aware you can't move your dragon at all. That is reserved for forward facing only. Now this actually might sound like a bit of a pain in the ass, you know, having to rotate and worry about enemies coming from every direction kicking your ass. But this is one of the things that made the original so unique, and at the time true 3D, where you actually had that freedom. The reason also it's not a pain in the ass though, we get a radar system in the top right corner that shows where enemies are placed. It's never like, you know, just simply cheap. You have all the information you need to be successful. So when it comes to the controls here with this remake, we get two formats, classic and modern. And it basically comes down to this: aim and move is attached to the left joystick for the classic, meaning move your aim and the dragon will follow. Modern though actually separates this out with the left joystick moving the aim reticle and the right stick moving the dragon. Because you're using both joysticks on the modern front as well, it does move the shoot function to the right trigger instead of the B button that you'll find in the classic side of things. Now I actually did a run through of both and I think I still prefer the classic personally. It's mainly because it's what I'm used to, but maybe that's going to be different for someone that never played the original. What I didn't like on the modern side of things was using the trigger to shoot. It was exhausting shooting as quickly as possible when you need a full pull of the trigger because you're really going to be like pushing that fire button hard. Also with the settings, I will say dive into the crosshair sensitivity, get it to your liking, and with the Y-axis you can invert that too if you please. I just kind of wish I could invert the X-axis too, but I think maybe that's a really weird idea, I'm not sure, but something in me tells me that I want to invert that X-axis as well. Now to add some longevity to the experience, they've also added a stats page which will show you the number of complete runs you've done, the time you've spent playing, shots fired, accuracy, enemies destroyed, all that good stuff. I just wish they'd implemented some sort of like high score system to really force me to want to go back over and over again. And that's really it for gameplay. That's Panzer Dragoon, an on-rails shooter with a tiny amount of movement with the dragon. It's very shallow and it's a very repetitive gameplay loop. You know, there's no weapon upgrades or special abilities, just aim and fire. But for that reason, it also just kind of feels like very pure. It feels important almost. Yes, games have come a long way since this one, but this still provides a level of enjoyment that very few can match. Now, when it comes to the game, it has problems for sure. The camera can get lost on screen and blocked. The movement of the dragon, it can be awkward at times as you try to avoid, structures and things falling in your way. With this release as well, I will say I swear they've made the corridors of the 4th chapter tighter, like it wasn't difficult enough already first time around. And then occasionally an enemy can appear out of nowhere and just get like a few cheap shots off on you. Not so bad on the easy difficulty, but kind of a pain when you start ramping up to that hard difficulty. This, though, I will say is very true of the original game as well, and being a remake, we've got to expect that the problems come along for the ride as well. It's not perfect, but it's a little piece of gaming history. So my last point when it comes to gameplay length, this one, it's short. 6 chapters and a final boss. We'll see you completing this one with a perfect 0 death run, I've got to say, in under an hour. Just be aware of that going in with this one. With the attached price tag of $24.99, £22.49 or €24.49, I feel like the price tag maybe suggests a longer game than you're actually getting, but value, we'll jump more into that later. To me though, yeah, the gameplay, it's addictive and unique with its 3D design, but what truly made it stand out back in the day was the graphics, the character design, this world. I'd never seen a game like it, and that's what made it stick with me. Looking back, it's crazy to remember me sitting there thinking, wow, graphics have just like reached their peak, they're never gonna get better than this. And yeah, look where we are now with the upcoming Xbox, the new Switch, all of this great stuff that's happening in the gaming world. This remake though, it's absolutely stunning from start to finish, taking the original designs and bringing them very much into 2020. From the cutscenes themselves being now fully realised with new camera angles, and they're more cinematic than ever with just expressive designs. And this even extends into the gameplay graphics themselves. The dragon just stunning with all the movement and animation you would expect. The reticle and the fire system, it's a pure HD recreation of the original. And then these landscapes, the basics of the original are still there, but they flesh them out from the sinking city-like structures to the grey corridors of our enemy base to the open ocean. Then the bosses at the end of each chapter, they've taken them and just kind of dialed them all up to 11. They always looked great in design in the original, but they took the big and just made them bigger. They took them menacing and made them truly creepy. It really is amazing work here. My only complaint graphically, there is quite a bit of popping throughout in the distance. When you're playing, it's so manic, honestly, you don't even notice it. But when I was watching the footage back, that's where I really picked up on the scenery coming into place. If that's what delivers the solid frame rate though, it is definitely worth it. But also a question for you, if you don't notice it in the game, does it really matter? A stunning game from 1995 is done absolute justice in its graphics here. So audio, I mean this, it's one of the best soundtracks you will ever hear. The weapons, they're fine. I wish we had a few beefier explosion sounds and things, but if there's anything you come here for on the audio front with Panzer Dragoon, it's the soundtrack. It's just, yeah, an absolute masterpiece. Composed by Saori Kobayashi, he composed the original and he returns here to rearrange the new one. Touching on all the original themes though, this is just an absolutely stunning piece of work, where like much of the package they took something amazing and they've just kind of tweaked it very slightly. Audio's come a long way since 1995 and you can immediately hear the difference, with swells of orchestras now touching on lines that many of you would have grown up next to. For me, it's a masterwork of a soundtrack. My only wish, I wish they had let us switch between the new music and the original in the options. That would have been pretty cool if you ask me. So overall, I'm a fanboy of this one, and I was both excited and nervous going into it. Sure, I wish they'd attempted to, fix a few of the problems with the game, the camera angles, the cheap shots here and there, but for the most part, I've come out of this one extremely happy. They've taken the original and very much used this as an opportunity to visually represent the name in 2020. The creativity was always there, the gameplay was always solid. So to me, they've been smart. They simply built upon the world, updated cutscenes, and just gave it a few new controller options, opening the door now to a huge new market of players who may have never experienced this one. My only question, it's that price point again at $25 in the US, £24 in the UK and €25. It's a little steep. Fair enough, they've made the game for the fans and I'm happy to pay it myself. I'm sure tons of people will go out and get it as well. But I don't know if it's a low enough price point to attract a new audience. And that's kind of a shame. A huge amount of people will no doubt miss it again. For me, I want to see more Panzer Dragoon game entries, new ones, and I think 15 to 20 would have been a smarter price point here. Overall though, this is as fantastic a game as it ever was, with a fresh coat of paint though to really make it sparkle. It brings absolutely nothing new to the experience outside of that control scheme option, but fortunately, as I said, it's just lost none of its wow factor. Today I'm giving Panzer Dragoon Remake an amazing 9 out of 10. For all you fans out there, buy it immediately. I probably don't need to tell you that, you've probably pressed buy already. And for those that never played it, I'd say take a risk on this one. Thanks for watching, hit that subscribe button, join our growing family as we quickly approach the 2,000 subscriber mark, crazy to us. Leave the video a like and let me know if you played the original in the comments below. I'll see you all on the next video.